beating the crap out of my predators with a baseball bat, so
With a baseball
people
bat.
at display. It's
They don't
a
call
bit
you
odd.
Batman. Nothing.
Yeah. Oh, that's so punny, man. You have no idea. I mean, it's not like Batman and Robin level, but
No, that was actually in an animated series episode.
are you serious?
Yeah, yeah, that's why I said it.
Oh,
That's a Robin quote. Vince and I actually talked about that on a Superhero Rewind Light we did a few weeks ago. That's in the Christmas with the Joker episode. Batman hits something with a baseball bat. Robin
oh,
said, "They don't call you Batman for nothing."
I've never noticed that. Now that makes me
It's hilarious.
and I watched that episode like 2 weeks ago, so wow.
Oh well, I'm not saying you should have remembered it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I thought it was funny.
I mean, trust me, and I'm a person that will say puns to my friends just to specifically annoy them. And they're just like horrible puns, like what is it? Never mind. Whatever. I'm not gonna go through my pun list. That's not the point of this. So let me think of another. Oh yeah.
My wife's into puns. Yeah, yes, she is. Sarah thinks puns are great, and like you want to eye roll, but then they really are as funny as she thinks
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One of my favorites is that Sarah came up with was comatose. Like you have comatose, but then if you eat toast at breakfast and it makes you go into a coma, it's comatose. What makes it even better is that she came up with that 12 hours after she delivered Jason.
Oh my.
She
So
thought of that.
was she like all drugged up or?
No, not really. Not really.
So she doesn't
My
even have an excuse there. It's just sort of a thing of
No, it's just great.
yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah. It's really odd.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't talking about that. That's odd. Trust me, but.
No, that is pretty. Comatose. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, but what was it? I also forced my history teacher to watch Doctor Horrible, and he would like to quote these
That's
certain
a terrific.
Captain Hammer line that you know what I'm talking about in front of the
Right.
class, but
Right.
then he would get fired for that,
That's true.
and then I would say it to him behind his back, and then he'd smack me upside the head. Don't tell the school board about this. And I just said this to something I'm going to be uploading. I'm not sure if I should edit that out or just keep it in because I'm stupid like that, but whatever.
It's a good story.
Yeah. Sorry for how awkward I'm making
I
this.
love,
It's just
I love Doctor Horrible, man.
Yeah.
Like nobody, like somebody might think they're being forced to watch that till they see it.
yeah,
Well,
that's
it's
exactly how my friend was. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like, I've had this with a few people where folks are like, oh man, I'm not really into Whedon, or I've heard, the problem with something like Doctor Horrible is that it broadsided people so hard.
Yeah.
Like nobody expected it to be what it was. That like it is one of those things where if you hear about it too much, you're not going to want to watch it, or right? Like I had that in high school with Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Like I was so sick of hearing people talking about that by the time I finally watched it, it wasn't as funny as it would have been. And Doctor Horrible could be like that if you heard too many quotes and stuff. But a lot of the people that I've gotten to finally sit down and watch it, where I'm like, no, really, trust me, it's not just funny, it's good storytelling. There's some great stuff going on there, and I've gotten a lot of people to finally sit down and watch it and go, oh yeah, you're right, that's great, and then they quote it constantly because it's
yeah.
very cool.
Now every time something weird happens in class, my friend's just like, oh, what a crazy random happenstance.
Yeah,
And then I just
and
look at him just like, you called this stupid 2 weeks ago. You hypocritical, just horrible person. And then they just sort of look at me with this creepy smile, and then I just stop talking about it.
then there's an even deeper layer. It's like pie.
Oh, I need to just... I once watched that 3 times in one day, and then I watched commentary of the musical.
Yeah.
What's my life? I'm serious. Like, if I can just sit down and watch something like that over and over and over again, knowing that I could be doing something, maybe, but no, I'm just sitting down and watching a musical about a society called the Evil League of Evil,
Well, it
directed
sounds
by
like
a
it sounds
man
like
who is literally a horse who is bad. So his name is obviously Bad Horse. That movie
which
sounds just so weird when you say stuff like that out loud.
which was an idea that came from Ben Edlund, who is one of my favorite people.
I know the tech and everything. It's
Yeah. Yeah, Whedon tried that, or he tried to get Whedon to put Bad Horse and Angel season after
oh
season.
my god. Which is weird. I wouldn't watch Firefly just because for like years because I just sort of looked at it as, oh, this looks like just a WB show that kind of looks really horrible, which is the same way I felt about Arrow before I actually watched it.
Yeah.
Um, but then, like, it's weird because as a kid, my mom would sit down with me and watch Buffy and Angel, and those are like some of my favorite childhood shows, which sounds a bit odd, but yeah.
Yeah, little bit. Because I
But
remember watching an episode of that once in high school, thinking, man, like in high school, like sophomore in high school, coming home from school, I watched an episode of that. I remember thinking, I hope my mom doesn't come in and wonder what I'm watching.
yeah,
Because it was one of the darker episodes, and I was just like, I'm not sure I'm supposed to be watching this. I was 15 and wondering.
yeah. I mean, I feel the same way whenever I watch an Evil Dead movie, but that's completely different. Mine has a logical reason. Because I will always bring up the tree scene to my friends whenever they're like, I need to show my parents this, and it's like, no, the tree scene, dude. You have to remember the tree scene.
I need to show my parents this.
I've had a friend legitimately say that to me, and I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you?
Well, you know, now that I think about it, it's strange that I wondered about that with Angel, given that I have watched a lot of horror films with my mother. I think it was one of those things where it was a really awkward, dark scene, and I was just hoping my mom would walk in while I was watching. You're like, what is this? And I'm like, I don't really want to explain this to you.
Yeah. I mean, I get what
Yeah.
you're saying.
But my mom and I watched Stephen King movies some growing up. Not like when I was really little or
Yeah.
anything, but you know, junior, senior,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing.
I mean, when I was younger, I was afraid my mom would walk in on me watching The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Not because they're darker. That show's legitimately messed up. And if
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that show was kind of messed up.
not just kind of, it was. I don't see why that wasn't aired on Adult Swim instead of just Cartoon Network. That was. Yeah.
That guy's voice is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
That's pretty cool. I wish I had a voice like that.
I mean, okay, bringing back the subject of Evil Dead, out of the, sorry, I'm obsessive about these movies, and my friends know this because I don't shut up about it, and half of them haven't seen it, and they're like, why are they so good? And I'm like, watch them, and you'll find out. Because, okay, Evil Dead 2 proves that Bruce Campbell is probably one of the best physical comedians of all time. Just because of the fact that how much he was able to abuse himself in that movie, and especially if you watch the special features. You know that scene where his hand gets possessed and everything, and he's smashing plates up against his head, and he flips himself over and everything?
I actually don't know those movies very well. I saw Army of Darkness, but that's the only one I ever saw.
Oh. Dude, what's wrong with him?
I'm not a horror fan, and I'm not a big Raimi fan either.
I'm not that big of a Raimi fan. It's just Bruce Campbell makes those movies just so... it's like not even able to describe with words how awesome those movies are just because of Bruce Campbell. Especially Evil Dead 2 when he cuts off his hand. That is like one of the most iconic scenes in film for me. Just because, in concept, I guess it makes no sense how... Oh, all this other stuff can't get you possessed by a demon, but Herb simply biting your hand, yes, that completely just makes everything different in how your hand can get possessed. And it doesn't spread through your body or anything, just your hand. That movie's just... I don't know. Yeah. Another awkward silence put on by me rambling about stuff and things.
Sorry, I have nothing to add.
I know, and I have something to think about, but I gotta at least make this not awkward. I'm sorry for making this awkward for you. It's just
No, you're not. In fact, I'm immediately flashing back to certain moments in Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Because these awkward silences remind me of that show,
Yeah.
where they had many of them. And in fact, most of the humor was derived from that.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Space Ghost Coast to Coast?
No, I don't even know what you're talking about, so I'm just
That's a
responding
little,
with, yeah.
that's a little ahead of your time. Well, you were talking about Adult Swim earlier. That's the big precursor to all of Adult Swim. You would have never had that without Space Ghost.
I mean, yeah, most people my age would be like, oh, Adult Swim, that show with Seth MacFarlane. It's just like, Seth MacFarlane, he used to make me laugh when I was 13, but I don't know what happened between 3 years where I suddenly just started finding him obnoxious a lot.
Well, I kind of always found him obnoxious. I mean, you know,
I mean, I guess it had something to do with my immaturity, but...
Yeah, it's just not my kind of humor. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Family Guy is one of those shows where I've watched a few episodes and, you know, it's not worth the 5 jokes I laughed at. That's just how I always felt about it. You know, it would have its moments, but I mean, like, you know, there are plenty of episodes of The Simpsons that are just like that, but it hit more often for me. So I don't know.
I mean,
It's just a taste.
it's really odd because I look back at Seth MacFarlane's earlier career, and he actually was like one of the producers on Dexter's Lab and stuff.
Yeah.
Which really weirds me out that he went to like way just more crude humor, which I guess you look at the earlier Cartoon Network shows, it was just like innuendo, 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 just all over the place.
Yeah, but cleverly.
But because you're like
edited, yeah. Yeah, you would know it. No,
Yeah.
it's great. I like that kind of subtle stuff. It's funnier when it's done that way. To me.
I mean,
Yeah, I can't believe you know what you know what Dexter's Lab is, but you know what Space Ghost Coast to Coast is.
that sounds familiar is the thing. I don't know why I don't know.
Well, Space
okay.
Ghost had like a talk show, and they had like famous people on it, but it was a cartoon, and then they would have like famous people on the screen next to Space Ghost, and he would talk to them. And then you had Cartoon Planet, which ran simultaneous with it, and that was the one that had Brack. So you had Space Ghost and Moltar and Zorak on his show, but then Cartoon Planet was a kid-friendly thing that had Brack and Zorak and Space Ghost, and that's where
I think I know what you're talking